what are we going to call that, um, the gigantic scud that came through, um, and abandoned the last race at Randwick today at headquarters. Gee whiz, Randwick was underwater. You couldn't get out of the joint. I'll get to that in a minute. This is going to be, there's only two people look at this anyway, so what we'll just say a couple of words. Go back to Kembla Grange today, a week ago. Now, it was a softy 5, the rail was 3 metres out. When you do the form there, you'll come up with a pack-a-poo ticket because the inside was no good. You had to, you could lead, and hang on, but you had to be off the fence coming to the turn and get wide in the straight. Pace was the dictator. We went to Wyong on Sunday. Oh, wasn't it wonderful at Wyong on Sunday? Gee, what they had. Oh, should have seen the crowd there. It was a fair dinkum. There were 4 people there. There was a solid breeze that would tail them down the straight early in the day, and it more or less stayed that direction all day. The rail was 4 metres out from the 1350 until the 210 where there was a cutaway, and it was a softy 5, and there was no bias. Up on the pace, you could stay on the fence and win, where of course, well, the winner of the last race came from 3rd last on the fence and hooked off heels and won, and the winner of the 6th race, it came from well back in the field, 2nd last or last on the fence, getting in between runners and win. There was no bias on the track, but boy was it an ocean liner meeting. It was fair dinkum fly blown. Now, of course, we had the big wet. The big wet came, and we saw Canterbury, which was due to race on Wednesday, the 22nd of April, and Newcastle was going to be on Thursday, the 23rd. Of course, when the big wet came, they were very severely affected up north in the Hunter region, and Newcastle was put off. You picked up you opened the Herald on the Sydney Morning Herald on Wednesday morning. I got it at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it had the storm of the century, and that was because, of course, of the day prior on Tuesday. The storm of the century. Well, I don't know about whether that was right or not, but boy, it was wet. And it wasn't until 10 to 7, 6:50 in the morning, the races were still on at Canterbury. 15 minutes prior to that, I had the news on, and they said, oh, at Marrickville, which isn't very far from Canterbury, the train lines are flooded. But Canterbury was sweet. It was going to race. I don't know how. They finally put it off at around about 10 to 7. And because Newcastle was off on the Thursday, it was transferred the next day. And Canterbury, over at the back of the back straight, there are huge water canals there. And Canterbury hasn't been tinkered with like Randwick has over the years. I just forget the mob who did do Canterbury up, put the drainage in and so forth. They did a very good job. Fancy selling Canterbury, boy, would the racing game in New South Wales be in trouble if they did part with Canterbury because they're running out of section. They would be in some trouble. Anyway, I think I've said it before, at Canterbury when I've been down close to the rail, just in the public area when it's been wet, and you can actually hear the water pouring off the track down into the drains when it's been very wet. has a very, very good drainage system, like the natural system used to be at Randwick, but not because they, of course, dug it all up and replaced it with different soil instead of that sandy loam. Canterbury on Wednesday, it was given out a heavy 8 to start with, and as the day went on, I think it was later in the day, it was upgraded to a softy 7, and the track played, even though the rail was in the normal position, and Canterbury, when it is in that position sometimes, when the track is that affected, the inside is inferior, but that wasn't the case. The fence was still, even with the wet conditions underfoot, the fence was the best place to be. You've only got to have a look at the replays and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Have a look at the last race, it'll tell you very clearly. Race 1 today at Randwick, where we, it was given out a heavy 10, upgraded to as the day went along, well, after race 4, from a heavy 8 to a soft 7, and then of course the storm was approaching, and after race 7 it was torrential. No more for the Avery, please. Can I ring you back? All right, mate. All right. Oh, yes. All right. Yes. All right, darling. All right. Yes, I'll ring you back. Bye, bye. Bye. Yes. So we got to headquarters today. The rail was a heavy 10 upgraded to a heavy 8, I think, upgraded to a softy 7. The rail was 12 metres out from the 1600 to the metre part, from the 1600 from the mile to the winning post, and then 6 metres after that, which didn't come into play, of course. Well, we saw the it didn't matter. It just shows you the reason why I keep on going on about this, but why they should never, ever, never, ever, never have touched the track, because there the rail was out 12 metres today, and still the inside section of the track was no good. They scouted the best place to be was to be off the pace, and as the day went on, get to the runner that got the widest had the best chance of winning, which a lot of them did. It was a huge difference to me in race 5. How will anybody tell me? Just tell me, how did Quartzy win race 5? Quartzy, it was half, not that far off the fence, maybe 3 or 4 off the fence, turning for home on the inside of Craig Lee Cruz, the runner from Queensland, and then topping the rise, ridden by Christian Reith, very underrated rider. He got to the top of the rise, and he more or less got to the middle of the track. When I say the middle of the track, in between the 12 metres and the outside fence, and for a couple of strides, well, I said, well, you won't be winning. And Wonderbolt was a huge result for me, and it was getting to the hooking off heels, and was going to be, which it was, and did become the widest runner, but it wasn't able to. It was resuming from a spell. It wasn't able to round Quartzy up, and it beat it by 1.8 lengths. Very quickly about this meeting, you can more or less, well, I was just about to say throw the form out the window, but I suppose in the first race you don't do that, because the winner painted Firetail, ridden by James McDonald, trained by John O'Shea, Darley. Look, even though we all saw it, and we're going to say it found the best section of the track. It was the first race. The runner that led, Stravago from barrier 1, it was well away from the fence. The Hickey Hockeys were well aware that the inside was no good even before the first race. He hooked off heels, James McDonald, and won by a length only, but it was a good win. And then as there was only 4 runners in the next race, and you saw what happened. The 2 leaders ran in the field of 4, second, third and fourth, and the 2 trailers got the cash. The figures were good in that race. We bookies bet, we gave $3.50 towards the end of betting Confederate. So there you got 28.5, and then you've got we gave $3.50 Very Delicious. So that's what's that? 28. It's 50. 57, and we gave 9 to 4 the winner. Tree of Jesse. 50. That's 87, and we gave plenty of. Well, it started $8. The other 87, 97, 99. Well, we're always going to bet losing figures in such a small field. And the winner, we put it up to 7 to 4, equal favourite with Confederate. Confederate was extremely hard to lay, as I say, got out to 5 to 2 at the end of betting. The winner, it was 7 to 4 out to 9 to 4, taken towards the end of betting, and Very Delicious was 5 to 2 into 2 to 1 starting favourite, or just favourite, and Manhattan Island, who led, who had been missing the kick a bit, well, did his last start anyway at Hawkesbury, 9 to 2 to 8s, and the pair that sat behind the 2 leaders, they ran the Quinella. We saw in race 3, Major. I haven't seen the start or the replay yet, but Major, Darren Flindell said that missed the kick by 5 lengths. But, and then next thing you know, I settled down last. It was the only runner that was travelling coming up the turn and eased off heels and won by 7.5 lengths. Absolutely trotted in. They killed you for the $11 and $10 towards the. Oh no, it was. It took a bit of $10. It was into $9 at one stage. It got back out to 10. We saw in the next race, race 4, where we only had a field of 6 runners. We saw the Avery Swift Lady, who was a very good run last start. We saw it get held up badly and lose all of its momentum. It was too good for them. It sat in last position on the fence and then eased off heels and finished up getting around Sadler's Lake, who had the 1-1 run and was too strong for her, beating it by 2.5. It was 6.3 lengths back to the others. The winner had something on them, a good little win. The next race was won by, as I told you, Quartzy. How in the hell would Quartzy win? But it did. It was a huge difference to me, that race. Wanted Wonderbolt desperately. The flux in that race, Texan Lad was 25 out to 30 back into 21, missed the kick. Miniature, who was very disappointing, got into a lovely position, 7 to 2 out to $6 back into 9 to 2. Floral Insight was 30 into 25 back out to 30. Now the next runner were the owners of Regulify. Please step forward. Well, of course, bookies reached for it and punters steered away from it because I would say everyone was a jerry, that the inside was no good. It did have barrier 2, and it was 9 to 4. Now, I don't care what they return it. They might return it $4.60. I was $6 when they jumped, and I couldn't strike it for fair dinkum $50 to a brick. It was I put a couple of bets in the ledger against it, but they were very, very small sections, and you couldn't write its name. It was 9 to 4 to 5. Craig Lee Cruise was $16 into 15, back out to $15, $16. Quartzy, that was a skinner for the books. It went up for $26 and started 30. Handsome Tycoon was 9 to 2, $5.50 into $5. Marwood, the first runner they backed, $5.50 out to 6 into $4.40, starting favourite. I couldn't understand it. It did have barrier 1. Wonderbolt was $8 out to $10, back into $9. And Fort Sumter was 60 out to 100, back into 80. And as I say, a great result for the captains, but a big difference for me. I never laid the winner. I laid for something, but I wanted the second horse desperately. Race 6, here we saw Downston Charlie settle down in last position, and of course get to the outside, ridden by Winona Constant, 2 kilos off, 2 under the limit it carried. It was a good run at Kembla last start when it had to switch back into the inside, where the not close to the fence, but it was it was very hard to do what the rider tried to make the horse do last start and get home, and it just failed. But today, of course, it got to the outside, widest runner, and that was the difference between it winning and losing. It got the biscuits. And then race 7, which turned out to be our last race today because race 8 was abandoned, we saw very similar to race 6, Darcy Magic, who was extremely well backed, 9 to 2 into 13 to 4. And gee whiz, it puts the bloody nail in the coffin every time. Just as they were just about to jump, a bloke came out of the carpet, and he said, he was wobbling a bit too. He'd had a few pen and inks. He said, "Can I have a G on number 10? I said, "Yes, you can." And right as they jumped in, the starter said, "Go." Well, it was very similar to Downston Charlie. It sat back in last position, ridden by Timmy Clark, and got to the outside in the straight, the widest runner, and was able to. Well, it came off the back of the second horse, Sense of Occasion, who was back in 3rd or 4th last position. He got off his heels, and Sense of Occasion got around the others, but he got around him, and he beat him by a length, and it was 3 lengths back to Intimate Moment, who came from second last. So, telling us that the getting wide was, as the day went on, was the only place to be. Yes, they took all of that beautiful. You look at Randwick, if you ever go there, you just stand out the front of the main grandstand and have a look at the surroundings. Have a look over the back there, and the whole track is built in a lovely big basin. And as I said, I just forget how, not so long ago, when you walk in through the members' car park, I actually pointed it out to one of the committeemen, well, she's pointed it out to Julie Ritchie as I was walking in today. So Julie, have a look over there where they've excavated a lot of soil. You can see the first 3 or 4 feet of soil is sort of not real dark brown, but it's got a flicker of white through it. But then when you get down to that 3 or 4 feet, there is that white loamy, as if it's some sort of deserted beach soil underneath, and that's how the track at Randwick. That's what that whole basin was built on. And once that water got through that topsoil, which was nice and succulent as it was, and it hit that loamy stuff underneath that, it can suck the water out of it, and the water disappeared and made it made Randwick as it was. And when we had wet tracks, the inside, of course, the way the camber of the track was and whatever, the inside for all that, for over 100 years, the inside was the worst part to be, and jockeys knew all about it before we got the TV that and were able to see the camera shots when they were coming down the side and turning into the straight, heading to the outside fence. It was always the same. But of course, no, the media hounded the AJC, and they said, oh, well, we'll dig it up. And they dug it up, and of course they've had a few goes at it and replaced it with this and that, and put drainage in, but it's nowhere as good as we all know as the natural drainage, and the water just, well, whatever happens there happens. But the track, I don't know what will happen there. It's going to cause problems. I wouldn't be spending one dime on it trying to dig it up again and do this and do that. You just got to let it go and hope over a period that the soil mixes up or something, or every time it rains that bit of stuff comes off the hills and into it and mixes in with it and so forth and so forth. But you wouldn't spend any money on it trying to repair it. So that's my opinion. I don't know what day it is. If you were wire netting today, as good old Mo Collin would say, I hope you finished on the right side of the ledger. Good evening.